The unexpected arrival commander, Sarah Chen, pressed her face against the reinforced viewport of mining station Omega-7, watching the distant stars that had become her only companions over the past 6 months. At 34, she had spent half her life in space, but never like this. Never alone on a dying station in the middle of nowhere, with only her engineering skills and stubborn refusal to give up keeping her alive. The emergency beacon continued its steady pulse, broadcasting her location across the void every 12 hours. She had modified it 3 times now, boosting its range with spare parts from the mining equipment. The beacon was her lifeline, her connection to the possibility that someone, somewhere, might still be looking for her. Sarah ran her fingers through her dark hair, now grown past her shoulders after months without proper grooming supplies. Her reflection in the viewport showed a woman who had learned to survive against impossible odds. The standard-issue jumpsuit hung loose on her frame, testament to the careful rationing that had stretched 6 weeks of emergency supplies into 6 months of survival. The station groaned around her, its hull expanding and contracting with temperature changes as it orbited the small asteroid it was anchored to. Most of the mining equipment had been salvaged for parts, transformed into life support components, water recyclers, and food processors. Sarah had turned the massive ore crusher into a hydroponic garden, using its mineral processing chambers. To grow vegetables in asteroid soil she had treated with chemicals from the geology lab. Her workshop, once used for maintaining mining robots, now resembled something between a laboratory and a junkyard. Every surface was covered with jury-rigged devices that kept her alive. Air scrubbers made from mining filters, a water purification system built from ore separation equipment, and a communication array she had constructed from salvaged robot parts. Each device was a small victory, proof that human ingenuity could triumph over seemingly impossible circumstances. Sarah made her daily rounds, checking the systems that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. The solar collector array, repositioned to catch maximum light from the distant sun, provided just enough power to run essential systems. The atmospheric processor, cobbled together from 3 different mining units, maintained breathable air with 97% efficiency. The gravity generator, probably the most complex repair she had attempted, kept her feet on the deck plates using components from the asteroid boring equipment. Today marked exactly 6 months since the catastrophic failure that had left her stranded. The mining consortium's supply ship had been due to arrive that very day, but instead of salvation, Sarah had watched helplessly as a solar flare disrupted all electronic systems across the sector. The supply ship had been forced to jump to safety, leaving her alone with a station that was slowly dying around her. But Sarah Chen was not someone who gave up easily. Her grandfather had been an engineer on the first Mars colonies. Her parents had designed habitat modules for the Jupiter mining stations, and she had inherited their practical problem-solving mindset. Every day brought new challenges, and every day she found new solutions. The communication console chimed, breaking her from her thoughts. Sarah's heart raced as she rushed to the control panel. The long-range sensors had detected something approaching, still days away but definitely artificial. She fine-tuned the readings, her hands shaking with excitement and anticipation. The signature was wrong, though. Too large for a rescue shuttle, too strange for any human vessel she knew. The energy readings showed propulsion systems that operated on principles she couldn't recognize. Sarah frowned, running the data through every analysis program she had, managed to keep functional. 3 days later, Sarah watched through the main viewport as the impossible became reality. The approaching vessel was definitely not human in origin. It stretched nearly a kilometer in length, its hull a flowing mixture of organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed along its surface in hypnotic rhythms, and the entire ship seemed to breathe as if it were alive. Sarah had studied xenobiology as part of her engineering training, but this was her first time seeing actual alien technology. Humanity had discovered evidence of other intelligent species, ancient ruins on distant worlds and mysterious signals from deep space, but no living aliens had ever made contact. Until now. The alien ship approached slowly, its movements graceful and deliberate. Sarah activated every recording device she could find, documenting humanity's first real contact with another intelligent species. Her hands moved automatically across the controls, preparing the station's communication systems for what might be the most important conversation in human history. A gentle vibration ran through the station as the alien vessel extended what looked like a docking tube. The connection sealed with surprising compatibility, as if the aliens had studied human docking procedures. Sarah checked her sidearm, more from habit than any real expectation that a pistol would be useful against beings advanced enough to cross interstellar space. The airlock cycled, and Sarah found herself face to face with the impossible. The aliens stood nearly 3 meters tall, their bodies elegant and graceful, covered in what appeared to be natural armor that shifted between silver and deep blue. They had 4 arms, each ending in delicate hands with too many fingers, and their faces were angular and beautiful in an alien way, with large eyes that held depths of intelligence Sarah could barely comprehend. The leader stepped forward and, when it spoke, the words came directly into Sarah's mind, translated by some technology she couldn't begin to understand. "Greetings, Sarah Chen of Earth. I am Thane Commander Viridian of the Vial-3 Collective. We have been observing your remarkable survival here with great interest." Sarah's mind reeled. Not only were these aliens real and communicating with her, but they knew her name and had been watching her. She gathered her courage and stepped forward. "You've been watching me? For how long?" Viridian's expression shifted in what might have been the alien equivalent of a smile. "For the entire duration of your isolation. We have monitored your ingenious modifications to this station, your resourcefulness in the face of certain death, and your refusal to surrender hope despite impossible odds." 2 more aliens emerged from the docking tube, carrying devices that hummed with unknown energy. Sarah noticed they moved with careful precision, as if every gesture had meaning and purpose. "Your species has impressed us, Sarah Chen. We have watched humanity expand across the stars with remarkable speed and adaptability. But we have also seen your conflicts, your tendency toward violence, and your impact on the worlds you colonize." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's failing heating systems. "What do you mean?" Viridian gestured with one of his 4 arms, and a holographic display materialized in the air between them. Images of human colonies flashed past, showing strip-mined worlds, polluted atmospheres, and the scars of industrial expansion. "We are the Vial-3, the last survivors of a race that once numbered in the billions. We fell to our own expansion, our own disregard for the consequences of our growth. We have spent 10,000 years learning wisdom from our mistakes, watching other species rise and fall, waiting for one that might prove different." The hologram shifted, showing Sarah's modifications to the mining station, her hydroponic gardens, her recycling systems, her careful conservation of every resource. The alien's large eyes focused on her with intensity that made her feel exposed and vulnerable. "But you, Sarah Chen, have shown us something we had not seen before. Faced with scarcity, you created abundance. Faced with death, you chose life, not just for yourself, but for the tiny ecosystem you cultivated in that ore processor. You took a machine designed for destruction and made it a garden." Sarah looked at the images of her makeshift greenhouse, seeing it through alien eyes for the first time. What she had thought of as simple survival, they saw as something more profound. "We came here not to rescue you, Sarah Chen of Earth, though rescue you we shall. We came to offer your species something that has never been offered to any other race we have encountered." Viridian paused, and Sarah could sense the weight of what was coming next. "The galaxy faces a threat that even we cannot handle alone. In 72 hours, a force will arrive that has consumed 17 star systems, and shows no sign of stopping. They are called the Devourers, and they leave nothing but empty space in their wake." Sarah's engineering mind immediately began processing the implications. "You want our help? But why? We've barely left our own solar system compared to you. What could humans possibly offer that your advanced civilization cannot provide?" The alien commander's expression shifted again, this time conveying what Sarah interpreted as respect mixed with anticipation. "Because, Sarah Chen, in all our 10 millennia of observation, We have never seen a species that responds to impossible odds the way humans do. Other races calculate survival probabilities and surrender when the numbers become unfavorable. Humans look at impossible odds and ask themselves not whether they can win, but how they can win. Viridian gestured to the modified station around them. You have proven that human ingenuity, determination, and adaptability are not just survival traits, but weapons more powerful than any technology we possess. The Devourers have never faced a species quite like yours. Sarah felt the weight of representing not just herself, but all of humanity in this moment. The aliens had been testing them, watching and waiting to see what they would do when faced with extinction. And somehow her 6 months of stubborn survival had impressed beings who had lived for thousands of years. What exactly are you proposing? She asked. An alliance, Sarah Chen. Your tactical thinking combined with our technology, your determination coupled with our knowledge. Together, we might achieve what neither of our species could accomplish alone. The alien paused, and Sarah could sense the gravity of what came next. But first, you must survive the test. The test of worth. Sarah felt her blood turn cold at Viridian's words. What kind of test? The alien commander gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show a star map with ominous red markers advancing through space like a plague across the galaxy. The Devourers are not merely conquerors, Sarah Chen. They consume entire solar systems, breaking down matter at the molecular level to fuel their expansion. They have destroyed civilizations that possess technology far beyond what your species currently commands. Sarah studied the advancing red markers, her engineering mind automatically calculating trajectories and arrival times. 72 hours, you said. How long until they reach human space? If they maintain their current pace, approximately 6 standard months. But that assumes they continue their methodical consumption pattern. If they detect a new threat, they will accelerate their advance. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. Earth, Mars, the Jupiter colonies, all the struggling human settlements scattered across dozens of systems. Everything her species had built would be consumed by these creatures. Show me everything, she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. I need to understand what we're facing. Viridian's forearms moved in complex patterns, and the holographic display expanded to fill the entire room. Sarah found herself standing in the middle of a three-dimensional star chart that showed the Devourer's path of destruction in horrifying detail. They arrived in our galaxy approximately 2,000 years ago from the void between galaxies. Each consumed system increases their numbers and their capabilities. They learn, adapt, and grow stronger with every conquest. Sarah watched the progression of red markers, seeing patterns that the alien might have missed. Her mind, trained to solve mechanical problems under pressure, began to work on this challenge the same way she had approached survival on the dying station. They follow a predictable pattern, she observed, always taking the systems with the highest energy output first, working their way toward galactic core, but they avoid certain types of stars entirely. Viridian's large eyes focused on her with surprise. You see this after mere minutes of observation? It took our analysts decades to identify that pattern. Different perspective, Sarah replied, still studying the display. I'm used to looking at resource allocation problems. This is just resource allocation on a galactic scale. She paused, an idea beginning to form. What types of systems do they avoid? The alien commander highlighted several areas on the map where the Devourers had curved their path around seemingly valuable systems. Pulsars, neutron stars, black holes, and systems with unusual quantum signatures. We theorize they avoid areas with dangerous gravitational or quantum effects. Sarah nodded, her mind racing. Or areas where their matter consumption process might be disrupted. Can you show me the technical specifications of their ships? The display shifted, showing massive, organic vessels that seemed to grow rather than being built. They bristled with weapons and consumption arrays that could break down entire planets in days. Impressive, Sarah admitted. But they're too specialized. Look at this. She pointed to the ship's consumption arrays. These systems are designed for maximum efficiency in normal space. But what happens if they encounter an environment that's not normal? Viridian exchanged glances with his companions, their alien expressions unreadable to Sarah but clearly indicating communication beyond her understanding. Explain your thinking, Sarah Chen. On the mining station, when equipment was designed for one specific task, it became vulnerable when conditions changed. The ore processors worked perfectly on standard minerals but failed completely when they encountered unusual compositions. Sarah gestured at the Devourer ships. These vessels are incredible at what they do, but that specialization might be their weakness. The alien commander moved closer, all four arms gesturing eagerly. You propose to change the environment they operate in? Exactly. Instead of fighting them where they're strongest, we make them fight where they're weakest. Sarah turned to face Viridian directly. But I'll need your technology to do it. And more importantly, I'll need your trust. What followed were the most intense 36 hours of Sarah's life. The Veil-3 transported her to their main fleet, a collection of living ships that defied everything she thought she understood about space travel. She found herself working alongside alien scientists who had millennia of experience, but had never encountered a mind quite like hers. Sarah's approach was completely different from traditional Veil-3 planning, where they calculated probabilities and built elaborate contingency plans. She focused on simple, robust solutions that could adapt to changing circumstances. Her suggestions seemed almost primitive to the aliens at first, until they began to understand the elegance of human pragmatism. You want to weaponize stellar engineering? Asked Kythera, the Veil-3's chief scientist, her crystalline voice conveying disbelief. The energy requirements alone would be prohibitive. Sarah shook her head, pulling up the schematics she had been working on. Not weaponize, modify. We're not trying to destroy them directly. We're trying to change the rules of engagement. Her plan was audacious in its simplicity, using Veil-3 quantum manipulation technology combined with human engineering principles. They would create localized space-time distortions around key systems. The Devourers would find themselves operating in regions where their consumption technology would malfunction, where the laws of physics operated just differently enough to disrupt their perfect efficiency. It's never been attempted on this scale, Viridian warned. The quantum resonance calculations alone could take years to perfect. We don't have years, Sarah replied, her hands flying over the alien control interfaces with surprising intuition. We have 36 hours, so we don't make it perfect, we make it work. The human approach to the impossible was apparently as shocking to the Veil-3 as their technology was to Sarah. They spent hours debating the theoretical implications of what she was proposing, while she simply began building it, using salvaged components from her mining station modifications and Veil-3 quantum processors. Sarah constructed a prototype device that would create the spatial distortions they needed. It was crude compared to what the aliens could build given time, but it functioned, and that was all that mattered. When the Devourers arrived, they encountered something unprecedented in their 1,000-year rampage across the galaxy. The space around the target system rippled with quantum distortions that made their consumption arrays spark and malfunction. Their perfect coordination broke down as different ships experienced different physical laws. The battle itself was unlike anything in galactic history. The Veil-3 provided precision strikes with weapons that could reshape matter at the quantum level, while Sarah coordinated defensive positions using principles of structural engineering applied to three-dimensional space combat. Concentrate fire on the command ships, Sarah directed, watching the battle unfold on holographic displays. They're trying to adapt their formation, but they need central coordination to do it. Her tactical thinking was completely alien to the Devourers, who had never faced an opponent that treated space battles like construction projects. Sarah identified weak points in their formation the way she would spot stress fractures in a building, then applied force in exactly the right places to bring down structures that had seemed impregnable. The turning point came when Sarah realized that the Devourers' greatest strength, their ability to consume and adapt, could be turned against them. She had the Veil-3 ships release modified matter, substances that looked like valuable resources but contained quantum traps that would disrupt the consumption process from within. They're trying to consume the bait, Kythera reported, her voice filled with excitement. Their ships are beginning to malfunction. Sarah watched as the mighty Devourer fleet began to tear itself apart, their own consumption technology turning against them. It was poetic justice, she thought, that creatures who had consumed so many worlds would be destroyed by their own endless hunger. The battle lasted 18 hours, and when it was over, the threat that had consumed 17 star systems had been reduced to drifting wreckage and quantum distortions that would warn other creatures away from this region of space. Viridian approached Sarah in the aftermath, his alien features conveying what she had learned to recognize as deep respect. Your species has passed the test, Sarah Chen of Earth. You have proven that humans possess something we had thought lost in the galaxy, the ability to face the impossible and find a way to make it possible. Sarah looked out at the debris field that had once been an unstoppable force, feeling the weight of what they had accomplished. But more than that, she felt the beginning of something new. This was just the beginning, wasn't it? She asked. Indeed, the galaxy is vast, and there are many challenges that require the unique combination of human ingenuity and alien wisdom. Your species is ready to take its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as problem solvers, as the ones who find solutions when everyone else sees only impossibility. Sarah thought about her 6 months alone on the mining station, how she had refused to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. That same spirit, multiplied across all of humanity, was apparently exactly what the galaxy needed. What happens now? Viridian's expression shifted into what Sarah had learned was the Val-3 equivalent of a smile. Now, Sarah Chen, we begin the real work. There are wonders to discover, challenges to overcome, and a universe full of impossible problems waiting for human solutions. As the combined human Val-3 fleet prepared to return to Earth with news of humanity's new place in the galaxy, Sarah reflected on how her worst day, being stranded alone in space, had become the catalyst for her species' greatest achievement. Humans had proven they belonged among the stars not because they were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they were the ones who never stopped trying to find a way forward. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. But Sarah Chen, who had turned a dying mining station into a garden and helped save the galaxy from an ancient threat, knew that was exactly how it should be.